Good morning everyone at Yonkers Voice. Today we have a surprise interview with a group of ladies, mothers of young kids that go to pre-K here in Yonkers. More specifically, Pearls. Good school I hear, but things are due to retirement, money, finances, some cuts are being made, and some of the cuts that are being made affect the moms that we see in front of us and others that were not able to show up to articulate because, you know, it's a weekday, people are at work, they cannot come. But we have 6 here with the authority to talk about the issue. We're going to know what have they done, when did they receive this notification, and when it's taking effect. The 3 ladies in the front are going to be articulating. The ladies in the back are also moms affected by this. So let's hear from Alison.
Right. So basically, we received a letter from the principal of Pearls Hawthorne on the Monday before Thanksgiving, announcing that Miss Hunt, who was supposed to be our children's teacher before she had an accident prior to the start of the school year, was retiring. And so Miss Moreno, who had been our teacher for the entirety of the school year, a wonderful substitute who we've become very attached to, as have our children, that basically due to the low enrollment numbers of the pre-K class in its entirety, they announced that our class was going to be eliminated, effective immediately. Day 1 was supposed to be this past Monday, and that our children were going to be sorted into the other 2 remaining classes, bringing the total of those classes up to the cap of 18 children per class. And I would say that our initial reaction was shock, because this was never presented to us as a possibility. In the beginning of the year, we accepted that Ms. Hunt could not fulfill the role that she was intended to fulfill, but we embraced Ms. Moreno, and more importantly, our children embraced her. And they'd come to rely on her and the routine, the stability, and they've made friends with their classmates, obviously. And we felt, our initial reaction was how disruptive this is to our children's learning experience. And how would we explain this to them in a way that they could understand? And how could we prepare them to be thrown into a completely unknown environment with a teacher that they do not know so immediately? And how would it affect them? So, you know, the concerns that we have are predicated on the fact that early childhood education sets the foundation for future academic success. And how would this negatively affect them? You know, to happen so suddenly in the middle of the year. And more importantly, how would it affect all the children? 36 total pre-K students in this school, when they are used to a smaller learning environment, and to have it suddenly explode and they don't know how to handle it.
Now, let me ask you, is this something that caught you guys completely by surprise, or is this something that even though they have not told you officially, you could have felt it, that it was coming?
No. So this was never presented to us as a possibility. Obviously, and I can only speak for myself here, but my child who's in the pre-K 4 class, he's my oldest. So I don't have any experience with the Yonkers Public School System up until this year. And I went into it feeling that we were having a very positive experience. And this was not something that we were ever, even when they told us that we were going to have the substitute and not Miss Hunt, that we were going to have Miss Moreno instead, this was never presented to us as, you know, that mid-year we might lose even the teacher that we now had. And, you know, that our child would be forced to basically jump into a new year all over again and relearn their peers and relearn their teacher. So, obviously we were very much caught off guard.
Now we have a new superintendent, Dr. Aníbal Soler. Has any of you trying to reach out to him to articulate what you are articulating today and see what are the options, if there is any options to continue with the program?
We all reached out to him via email. We've called the offices, trying to impress upon them that perhaps we could have a dialogue, an open conversation about maybe trying to figure out other options that didn't necessarily involve making this extreme action, because we were concerned that maybe a budgetary decision was being put over the consideration of what's best for the children. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so we have reached out via email and call, as Elise has mentioned. We've sent several emails and follow-ups, but we haven't heard back. And to Elise's point, we would like to have a conversation with Dr. Daisy Rodriguez and Dr. Annabelle Solar as well. And we welcome that conversation so we can get a better understanding of what's going on and how we can contribute to the success of the children and the school.
Well, look, I've been doing this for the last few years. I'm going to be modest. Only 17 years. And I have interviewed many political figures, people in charge, the prior superintendent. And one of the things they always say is we are reachable. You can reach us. So if you have a problem, am I getting it right that you did email, but you did not get a reply from them? None whatsoever? They just ignored you?
We've called, and again, I'll speak for myself here, but I believe they've had similar experiences, is that I've called the office, I've left at least 3 messages, and they take my name, they take my number, they take, a brief, what I'm calling about, and I've never heard back. And even via email, we've all sent emails and they've gone completely unanswered. And I think to that end, one of our main concerns is, look, we may be fighting a losing battle, but I want to feel like I'm being heard. This is really not a good first impression that is being made on us as, how am I supposed to trust that they really have the best interests of my child at heart if they won't even hear us out?
Well, Dr. Soler, you and I have spoken a few times. I was actually the person who broke the news when you initially got this job here in Yonkers. I also interviewed you at the county center in White Plains. And you said that things were going to change. And one of those things that were going to change is the communication bridge between those that you serve and your office, those that are in charge of the execution of the decisions that you made. You have here in front of me 6 parents, and I'm sure there are more parents, they're just not here today, who have tried to reach out to you numerous times, have tried to reach out to your office numerous times. They ask for the name, they ask for the content of the conversation, what is this about, but the buck stops there. There is nothing coming after that. There is no call back from you. There is no call back from anyone within your staff. So what is it? Do we care about the kids, or we just talk and say that we care about the kids because it is the right thing to say and the right thing to do? Personally, I have an hashtag, actions, not words. Do it instead of just talking about do it. They need to hear from you. They need to have a solution. Maybe what they want is not possible, but at least they want to hear from you so you can explain why it's not possible. Now, you kids, your class is going to be eliminated. So normally, how many kids are in each class?
So I believe that there is certain regulations that dictate how many children can be in a class before you need to add an aide, et cetera, and I have to be honest, I can't speak with any professional certainty on any of this, but I do know that I believe the cap is 18 with one teacher and one aide, and then beyond that, another aide would need to be added for additional students. Is that correct?
I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah.
So right now, our children are in a class of 12 and 13. And the other two pre-K classes are the same. And when this was presented to us at the beginning of the year and we learned about the class sizes, I was very encouraged, as I believe every parent would be, at the idea of our children receiving individualized attention, because my child's education is at the top of my list of the importance of my life, and trying to give him the best educational opportunities that we can. That's why we had our children tested to get into Pearls, to set them up for success. And the baseline of that, the very start of it, is pre-K. And I can speak, I just want to give like a personal sort of like anecdote here, which is that when my child started on September 5th, he could not write a letter. He struggled with grip strength, and Miss Moreno reached out to me immediately within 2 weeks of class and said that she had observed these deficiencies, and she works with him one-on-one every day for 10 minutes every day to increase his grip strength and work on things to get him to be able to hold the pen correctly, to be able to write his letters. And he went from not being able to write a single letter to writing his name now within 3 months. And last night he was helping my youngest son, my 2-year-old, to write his name. So I think that just speaks to what the quality of the education that we've come to expect and that we want to carry on. I think the main issue is that it's being implemented mid-year, and it's going to uproot and disrupt the stability and the individualized attention that we've come to rely on for our children. And I think the other teachers are fantastic. They are wonderful. And I know that if this happens, they will try to continue that as best they can. But they will run into a limitation inevitably, in that they will now be responsible for 6 more children in their classroom. And how will that affect the other students in the other classes as well? So to that end, we've had conversations, some of us with other parents, and they are very much with us and support the idea that everyone is going to be disrupted by this. And so it's not just our children who are obviously being the most directly affected, but all the other children as well.
Now, Elise, we need to give the right information, and we want those that are watching us to understand the problem exactly what it is. And we have a viewer here. The name is La Sparkless Link. This is what she says. Cancelled? Is that the correct terminology? Because that gives the wrong impression. Well, the class where your kids are going is going to be canceled.
Eliminated.
Correct? It's
Correct.
going to be eliminated.
Correct.
So that is a cancellation. Now,
Right.
what they're trying to minimize the issue is moving those kids to another classroom, where that classroom is going to have more kids than they should have.
They will have more children than we started the school year with. Yes, it will go from 12 to 18.
How many kids are supposed to be in a classroom?
So right now, the other classes have 1 teacher and 1 aide, and the cap is 18. So, and again, we believe, and what was told to us, is that they evaluated the amount of students and classes that were at Pearls and made the decision to eliminate this class to maximize the amount of students allowed in each class. So a budgetary decision, basically.
Okay, so I have to play devil's advocate, okay? Because I try to be fair to both sides, so people who are reading, people who are watching can make an opinion based on facts. So if the class can take up to 18 students, and there is a class with just 6 students, that's your class.
No,
right?
our class has 13.
13 students. So if they move 6 students from that class to the other, we'll put them at max. Where are the other kids going?
They're staying.
So in total, there's 3 pre-K classes currently. Each of them have about 10, 12, and 13. our child's class has the 13, which will be displaced at that time. So 7 will go to one class, and then the 6 will go to another class. So from 3 pre-K classes, condensing it to 2.
But still will be within the allowed
Correct.
number
Yes.
of students.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if I'm sitting on the other side, I might say, is this really a problem of kids, or it's a problem of convenience that the moms, because me as a father, I want my son in a classroom with the least amount of students. That means there's more attention, that means the teachers are focused more on him, so that means it's a better learning environment for me. But if I'm looking at financial decision, where I gotta make things happen with an X amount of dollars, and if I can put extra 7 students here, 7 students there, and still be within the legal allowed amount of students, I'm still in compliance.
We recognize that. That's definitely been something that from the beginning, other people that we have spoken to have brought this up. And we completely understand that Yonkers Public School System has to maximize that, the amount of money that they have to serve all of their students. And we understand that. I think our concerns stem primarily from the idea that nothing changed with the amount of students at Pearls and the distribution of those students into 3 classrooms. Nothing changed from September 5th, which was the first day of school, to Monday of last week. So if they had decided to do this from the beginning, I think we all would have, we wouldn't have known any different.
Exactly.
And we would have adjusted, and we would have, been able to form relationships with the 2 other teachers, and our children would have formed relationships with the other students, and that would have been their stability. However, now we're being asked to uproot them, sort them. They're going to be sorted into possibly different classes from their friends. They love Miss Moreno. When I tell you, my son doesn't really take to new people that easily, and to see the bond that he's formed with her in just these short months, because he can feel how much she cares about him and how hard she's working with him to make sure that he can succeed. And I think any mom who is listening to this and knows that experience, like the love of a good teacher, I think we're devastated to lose her, and I don't quite know how to explain it to him. And I think that's the thing that's the most difficult for us, is the uprooting, the sudden change, and the being asked to accept that they've decided to make a budgetary decision, even though it might come at the expense of the quality of our children's education.
Ladies, you two feel the same way?
Absolutely. Completely. And we understand that children are resilient, right? They are COVID babies, so they definitely are resilient. But the thing is, we're forcing them to be resilient. And if we are providing them with certain care, then why are we taking it away from them and making them forced to have this decision made for them? From Elise's point, from the beginning, it wasn't set this way. So why can't we just keep it for the remainder of the 6 months and then reevaluate at that time next year when they have their enrollment numbers to see whether they need the 3 classes or the 2 classes? Because I think that's the best decision for the children, because that's why we're here, for the children.
What if they don't get or not able to get a teacher? Would you settle for a temporary teacher until the end of the year? Or would that be another problem because now you don't have a full teacher, you have a temporary teacher?
We see Miss Moreno as our full teacher. I don't know what her status is. I can't say that I understand how she would be just a substitute and not a full teacher. I do know that the principal of Pearls told us that he recommended her for the full-time teaching position once Miss Hunt, who was supposed to be the original teacher, retired. So they had full faith in her and nominated her for the position. We have full faith in her
Absolutely.
because I've seen what she's done with my child. And I think that everyone can agree that they've also felt the effects of her attention and her care and her experience.
But there is qualifications that must be met in order to be seen or classified as a full teacher. Does she meet those requirements that you know?
Yes, she does.
Absolutely.
She
Well, she
does.
was offered the position, as Elise mentioned. She was offered it, so she obviously has the qualifications.
And she worked under Miss Hunt
Yeah.
for years, and she's been with Pearls for years. It's just that she's never had the opportunity to have, I think, a full-time position.
Yeah.
So once this opportunity came up, instead of bringing her into that position, they decided to eliminate the position.
So what do you think it is? What do you think is happening? Do you think this is just a way that the Board of Education sees to make some cuts, unnecessary cuts? Because if they have the qualified person, they always had that class, they have somebody capable of doing that job that is a teacher, why not? Because here cutting seems to be a financial decision.
We'd love to hear it from their mouths directly. What is going into this decision? I understand that we may not be able to be privy to all the ins and outs of the decision, but we would like to hear it from their mouths why this was being made. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I would be interested to hear what their plan was for where that money from Ms. Moreno's salary would go. Because, you know, I understand there's thousands of children in this district, and I know that they're trying, I hope, that they're trying to make this budget work for everyone. We just want some more transparency on, because this is directly affecting our children, and dramatically so, we would just like to hear what the plan is, because we were also told by the principal that the money that they are trying to extract and save does not stay with the school. It goes back to the district. So we can't even know if the school would then benefit from this in some direct or indirect way. So I think that's another concern that we have, and again, another reason why we want to meet with them.
Well, our school system, the district needs funds. We need funds, we need programs, we need musical instruments, we need balls for all the students of the school. So when there is a cut in one school, I don't know if that cut benefits that school or if it goes back and benefits the district. It goes back to the district and it just becomes
Absorbed by the district.
Absorbed by the district.
Yeah.
And they use it in whatever way they feel is necessary for that district. So what, in a nutshell, what would you like to happen now?
It would be great if we could hear from them, if they could agree to meet with us, if we could voice our concerns like the way that we're doing now, try to understand why they made the decision that they made, if they would be open to figuring out a way where we might be able to keep the current setup in place. Obviously, that would be the most ideal scenario. But in the event that that's not possible, I think we would, again, just like some transparency as to why the decision was made, and also what we might be able to do to ease the transition, and if any accommodations might be able to be made for us, for our children, to make that transition a bit easier, whether it be keeping Miss Moreno on for a bit to let her stay with the children, make them feel comfortable, meet with us and the new teacher. You know, like, none of these things have been offered to us. So, you know, we want to have a conversation. We want to know why this decision is being made.
I think, to your point, I think best case scenario is we keep everything as status quo, right? We don't make any changes that impact the children mid-year. And that is a big concern, that we're uprooting the children that have a set structure in the middle of the year, right? The budget was already set in place from September. The class size and the enrollment was already known about and set from the beginning of the year. So we are seeking clarity as to what is going on in terms of why is this being done mid-year. And we haven't got that clarification.
So right now, all that you're really asking is to connect
To be heard.
to those on top of the food chain, to connect and be transparent and tell you exactly why this is being done. Once they do, it might make sense, or it might not make sense. You know, that's open a dialogue so the parents understand why certain things are being done in a certain way.
Correct.
That's what I'm understanding from
I feel
you.
like we're owed that. I feel like every parent is owed that. You know, we pay taxes into this district. We've chosen to keep our children in Yonkers Public School System when so many people say, oh, we moved and we send our children to private school. I like to invest in my community, and I like to feel like my community and our officials are, you know, investing back in us.
Yeah.
Anything else, ladies? Go ahead. You were.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying, like, the children are our future. I know we hear that all the time. The children are our future, but this is a prime example of how we're setting them back, right? And we, as parents, want the best for them to excel further within the community. And that's all we want.
We're our children's biggest advocates. At the end of the day, I couldn't sleep unless I knew that I did everything I could to try to have my child have the best education that I can give him. And I truly believe that we are on the right track, but, you know, maybe one day we'll find ourselves up in arms against, or, you know, trying to enact some sort of change or do better, and this is our first experience with it. But I'd like to walk away feeling like I did everything I could.
That's one of the reasons I have this hashtag actions, not words, because I see so many things. I see pictures opportunities where they say whatever they need to say. When we talk about education, the kids are our future. This is it, the future of tomorrow. But when it comes down to, okay, let's put your words behind the things that you say. Let's support them now so we have a bright future with people that are competent to lead the future as you did. Then the actions are lacking. Well, ladies, thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us. As I always say, Yonkers Voice is not my voice. Yonkers Voice is the platform where people of Yonkers can speak loud and clear so the rest of the community knows the concerns and things that are affecting the people of Yonkers. Some people are affected by the things you just mentioned, other people are affected by other things. But this platform is where you can come and talk and people will listen. So keep me in mind when you have a response from the Board of Education, let me know what was the outcome. And then if you want to come back here and tell us the outcome, I would love to. We had an interview with a mom not long ago that she couldn't get an email from the Board of Education as well. I don't know if you guys saw that interview. Miss Santiago, her son has handicaps issues, wouldn't hear from them. When the interview went on, less than 48 hours, she had a call.
Good. We're glad to hear that.
And the problem was solved in a way that both sides are happy. Maybe this problem can be solved in a way that both sides are happy. Sometimes we don't win at all, sometimes we don't lose at all, but talking creates communication, and maybe we can understand if there is communication between the people involved. Thank you, and until next time.
Thank you. Thank you.